I'm going to quickly try and go through the very first level in its entirety. 10 minutes might not be enough, but I'll go slightly over and then just leave the recording up there. So this is the code lab. The first thing you need to do is create a new project and configure ThunderCTF. So that's what we're going to do here. You go to this UI. So this is console.google.cloud.com. And then you can just go to the home of this, and you might have a UI that says select your project. Sorry, I was messing with this earlier. Whoa, console google.cloud. All right, let me get back to the beginning. And then I have to create a new project. And typically what you would do is you go to the project list page, and then on the project list page, you just create a new project. So I'll create this thing. And then specify the billing account. I'll just use the same one, create this thing. Go to the project page. It's creating this thing. It doesn't take much to create. All right, so there it is. I'm going to select this project. And then after selecting this project, I can activate Cloud Shell on this thing. And so let me activate Cloud Shell, because that's what I'm going to need to do to instantiate these levels. And then one of the things, after you have instantiated this project, you're basically going to follow the instructions to bring this CTF up on your site. And then after you do so, as part of doing so, you're going to be enabling this audit log facility for doing the Defender path. So after you go through the steps of setting up the project, what I want you to do is actually visit the audit logs configuration, because visiting this audit log configuration will actually allow the audit logs to be collected. And this is a bug right now in Google Cloud, and this is why this is here in the code lab, because unless you do this, you'll see that the audit logs aren't going to be collected on your backend. So this is what I have right here. I've got the project up and running, and so you go to the ThunderCTF page. You can set the project, but if you see on Cloud Shell, the project has actually already been set. So you can see in yellow, the thing is set already. So I don't have to do that step. What I am going to do, I'm going to create a directory that has the ThunderCTF stuff in it. And then I'm going to create a virtual environment, because the levels are deployed with Python. All of the cloud resources that each level needs is done through Python deployment manager. So I'm going to create a virtual environment for the deployment manager, and then I'm going to activate it. This is the way we get a Python environment. And then I'm going to clone the repo and then do a pip install. This is how you install all of the packages that ThunderCTF needs to do the deployments. So that's what I'm going to do here, and then do the install. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to activate the project. Now, what this does is a cloud platform project has a restricted set of APIs that it has enabled. And as a developer, you begin to enable the ones that you need to actually do something on a project. So that's what I'm going to do next. Whoops. I'm going to activate this project, and I'm going to give it the name of the project as CS495.313.616. And then it's going to ask me, because it wants to make sure that you're on the right project, and it wants to make sure you started it with a new project, I'm going to say yes. And I'll authorize this access using the service account, or using my own email address. Because I am logged in here. So all of my accesses through Cloud Shell are done with the owner account, this pdx.edu account, unless I activate a service account to do so, as you'll be doing in the subsequent levels. So this is enabling the APIs. It just takes a while, a couple minutes for doing that. I'm gonna actually pause the recording while this happens. Okay, and you can see it's running. And one of the things, in order to do the defender path of this thing, you have to turn on audit logging for specific services. These are the services that we need. And so we want to enable all of this stuff. And we're done configuring this thing. And then as part of the code lab, I ask you to then check to make sure the audit logs are turned on. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to go to the interface. We're going to then go to IAM and admin and say, are the audit logs turned on? And this is just I hope it is a temporary bug. And you can see at least those audit logs are there. And then you can sort on admin read. Wait. There we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so I think this is actually all set now. It just takes a little while to turn all of these things on after you hit the UI. And so these are the important ones: cloud storage, compute engine, all of these things. Whoops. All of these things have been enabled. So now we're good. So this is the initial setting. And then what you will do is you're going to go play through the level, the very first one. And so one of the things I ask you to do is, as soon as you start the level, figure out the date, the specific date that you started it, then do the levels, and then come back and then do the defender path. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to go to a1openbucket, and I apologize for this bouncing back and forth between a code lab and the attacker walkthrough. I needed the defender. I needed to write the defender stuff separate from the attacker stuff, so that's why it's like that. And so I've already activated the service account. So for me to launch a level, I'm just going to do this, which is the command to deploy the level. And so that's what this is. I'm going to create the a1openbucket level. So after I do the creation, I am going to figure out what the time of day is. And this will become important because all of the levels will require you to zero in on the actual time of the compromise of the attacker behavior. Because if you don't do that, you're going to have way more entries than you want to really process. So that's the idea. Okay, and so every time you create a level, you'll see the starting message here. And this start message says the secret for this level can be found in a particular bucket, and it gives you the name of that bucket. So what I'm going to do is going to create figure out what time it is. This is 4:48. Maybe I should wait till 4:49 to start this level. No, I'm not going to do this. So I'm going to do a gsutil and then an ls to say which storage buckets do I have access to. And then you can see, oh, there is that bucket name. And so I can do a gsutil ls of gs://. And one of the nice things about gsutil, it does support tab completion. So I just hit a tab and it gives me the bucket name. And then you can see that this bucket has a single file in it. So then I can do a gsutil cp, and then I can do gs:// whoops, a1, and then secret.text to the local machine. And then I can cat secret.text, and then there it is. That's the secret number. That's your screenshot on the attacker path. And then what I would have you do is at the end of this attack, what time is it? It's 4:49. So it started 4:48-ish and it ended 4:49-ish. Well, 4:50 is what the upper limit will be. And so now I want you to then return back to the defender path, which is in the code lab. And I want to show you how you can list logs and the raw log information. So this is all the log entries are basically JSON blobs. And I just want to show you this once because you'll never want to do this manually again. But like this is the command line way of getting your logs. So the command is on the CLI is to do a gcloud logging list to figure out what log files are being kept on your project. Logs list. And so you can see there are activity logs, there are data access logs, system event logs. And so this particular code lab is asking you to read the data access log because the data access has happened where it's getting the secret.txt. And so you want to actually read that particular log file. So you'll say log read of this. And then you'll see the blob, the massive quantity of JSON that gets returned as part of this. And this is something that you would never want to parse manually. And so the rest of the code labs are, how do I navigate this log stream using better search, like a search engine or a filtering mechanism or a better UI. But this is the raw data that the subsequent services are going to use. So this gets us to the next part of this. I want to show you the project activity UI, because this is basically a way of getting a summary of the most important events that have happened onto your project. And this would be the first place you would look if something has happened, go to the activity logs. And you can see there are some filters here on the right that allows you to say, well, what kind of data am I looking for? And so it also has a filter that says, well, what days am I interested in? And so I actually want to select a date range because I know the date range. And I can say I am interested in 9:48 a.m. to 9:50 a.m. as my date range. And this will zero in on the events associated with the compromise of this level. And this is where this is. And the other thing is, you know what? I'm only interested in data access because I know some secret got exfiltrated, so I can deselect that. And then it will zero in on the important log entries. And this is something that you're going to do over and over again in the rest of the 5 levels is like, oh, I want to see the event that indicates the data exfiltration. Well, here it is. And you can see the service account or the identity that was used to access secret.txt is sitting right there. And this is what you'll see, the actual resource name and the user, and it's in a condensed form. So that's all fine and good for a summary, but what you really need is the raw information. Say you actually want more information on where this access came from, like the IP address, other sorts of information. You actually want more to be able to do a deep dive into the audit log entry. So the way to do that, and the way I have you then go and look for it, is through the Logs Explorer. And so the Logs Explorer will give you the full-on information about what has happened. And so we're going to go here. And so what I have you do is the first thing you can do is set the time range. So enter a custom range. And this can be 9:48 and 9:50. Actually, 9:49, actually, because I was able to get that in within that minute. And you can see the same, so I can actually do a filtering operation. So the only events that occurred in these 2 minutes were bucket events. If I had different ones, you could actually click on this and then you can see the exact same information, but you can actually see the full payload. So I can say expand nested fields, and you can see the email address. You can see the IP address of my Cloud Shell instance, basically, that accessed it. All of the request attributes, the actual object, the resource. And so this is if you actually need the full-on information of this event. And that's what I'm going to have. That's what this thing has you do. Okay, the next thing I want you to do is destroy the level and then view the deployment log information via Logs Explorer. So everything is logged. Even the deployment and deletion of your infrastructure is logged. And so I want you to see that as part of this code lab. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to do a Python thunder destroy, and it will automatically find the level that's running and then destroy it. You can only run one level at a time with ThunderCTF, so it will just automatically know to delete this. Hopefully it doesn't take that long as okay, and so now it's been deleted. I can then, let me do this as the last hour. And I have to clear this filter. And these are, so what, for the last hour, the resource types that have log entries are all of these. And what I want to have you do is click on the deployment log field. So one of the things is you could actually filter on severity. So definitely errors, you would have like, hey, what's going on in terms of errors or notices versus informational logs. You could do filtering on that. Or you could say, I want to filter based on resources. So we already did the GCS bucket filter. Let me do the deployment management filter. And then you can see here, if you see these entries, you can see the actual deletion of this project, and that will help you answer the last part of this this code lab. One of the things that you'll see is that as you put these filters on, you can see up above this query editor. And this is basically you could actually type this in manually if you wanted to, but this is actually what's actually being done on the back end when you're doing queries. It will actually update the actual query that's sent to the back end.